Greetings, Petrolheads. Welcome back to our deep dive into the next chapter of Formula One, the 1958 season. The year that could best be described as the end of the beginning. The final chapter in what many now call the gentleman's era of Formula One. Though the calendar still reads the 1950s, and though front-engine machines still thunder down the straights, a new current has begun to stir within the sport. What began in 1950 as a post-war dream built on borrowed circuits and borrowed time is now evolving into something faster, sharper, more professional, and in many ways, more brutal. This year, the sport sheds more of its early skin. Changes are everywhere. For the first time, Formula One crowns not only a world champion driver, but also the world's top constructor. The International Cup for manufacturers begins, but the rules were clear. Only the best result from each Grand Prix would count. There would be no second place in the constructor's mind, only the best, or nothing. Shared drives, that quaint symbol of camaraderie from the early days, no longer count for championship points. From now on, a driver's glory must be earned alone. Race distances are reduced to 300 kilometers, or 2 hours, whichever comes first. A small change on paper, but one that signaled the end of brutal marathon races across deadly terrain. And most shockingly of all, Maserati is gone. The Italian marque, whose red thunderbolts delivered Fangio to his 5th crown only last season, has withdrawn from Grand Prix racing altogether. Financial strain has silenced their glorious 250F. They depart not in disgrace, but in legend. But where one icon falls, another rises. A name new to Formula One arrives this year, Lotus. What begins now as a modest entry will go on to redefine the very shape, soul, and science of motor racing. History will remember 1958 as the year Chapman arrived and never looked back. This will also be the last season, ever, where front-engine cars dominate. Unbeknownst to many, the rear-engine revolution is already beginning to bubble beneath the surface. Some familiar races return. The Dutch and Belgian Grand Prix are back on the calendar, having been cancelled in 1956 and 1957 due to the Suez Crisis. But Pescara, the mammoth of danger, was dropped. It had served its purpose. And we travel to new lands, Portugal and Morocco, both hosting their very first World Championship events. The French Grand Prix returns to its historic home in Ramsgau, and Britain's Grand Prix once again alternates back to Silverstone. It is also a year of hellos and farewells. The great Juan Manuel Fangio, the maestro himself, begins what will become his final Formula One season. At the other end of the paddock, new names emerge, untested, hungry, unforgettable. Phil Hill, Bruce McLaren, Graham Hill, and Maria Teresa de Filippis, the first woman to compete in Formula One. Even Bernie Ecclestone and Carroll Shelby take a turn behind the wheel, each not yet aware of the future they would shape. But as with every year in Formula One's early chapters, the romance of speed comes at a terrible cost. 4 drivers will perish this season. 4 lives lost in the endless chase for glory. The calendar ends not only with a champion, but with a heavy silence that reminds us all, in 1958, motor racing remains the world's most dangerous sport. And then, there are the technical rules. No minimum weight limit, no engine configuration restrictions. Engines must be either 2.5-litre naturally aspirated or 750cc supercharged, though no team dares to run a supercharged motor this season. But perhaps most controversially of all, alcohol-based fuels are out. Avgas, aviation gasoline, is now mandatory. The change causes confusion, frustration, and fury. Engines must be retuned. Some manufacturers struggle, protests are raised, but the rule remains. And for the first time, the World Championship would stretch longer than ever before. 11 rounds, each a battlefield in its own right. Argentina, Monaco, the Netherlands, United States, Belgium, France, Britain, Germany, Portugal, Italy, and finally, Morocco. And so, we begin. The final season of the first Formula One era. The last before the sport becomes something entirely different. A season where technology, politics, and danger collide. The last breath of the gentleman racer, and the first pulse of modern Formula One. This is 1958.
La pampa infinita de mi Argentina.
So, welcome back in Argentina. It's the 19th of January, and for those coming from Europe, it's the perfect escape from the freezing winter. The scene is familiar. The same sun-bleached grandstands, the same restless hum of engines. We are once again at the Autódromo Municipal Ciudad de Buenos Aires. The weather? Exactly as expected. Hot, dry, muy caliente, as the locals would say. But behind the shimmering heat haze, this weekend hides a rather sad truth. Only 10 cars have gathered for this Grand Prix, an absolute negative record in Formula One history so far. The reasons? The newly implemented Avgas fuel situation, and the crushing costs of dragging a team halfway across the globe. The result is a grid that feels almost like a family gathering. Only the wealthy teams and the determined locals have made the journey. Still, even with so few competitors, the air is thick with tension. Scuderia Ferrari has arrived in Argentina with renewed purpose. The Lancia Ferrari hybrid of 1957 had been little more than a stubborn mule, hopelessly outclassed. This year, they have spared no time, no effort, and certainly no lira. The result is the brand new Ferrari 246, a machine born to restore the Scuderia's pride. It was a revolution in scarlet. For the first time in Formula One history, a team arrived on the grid armed with a V6 engine, the Ferrari 143, a layout that would set a new direction for the sport. The Ferrari 246 was the brainchild of the Dino project, a tribute to Enzo Ferrari's late son, and it stood apart from anything Maranello had produced before. Beneath the long, elegant bonnet lay a 2.4-litre, 147.5 cubic inch Dino V6, set at a 65-degree angle between its cylinder banks, a precise choice for balance, smoothness, and breathing efficiency. This power plant was no mere experiment. It roared with authority, producing 280 horsepower at a dizzying 8,500 RPM. It was a mechanical symphony, every note sharp and purposeful, sending power through a conventional front-engine layout, but with a soul that was anything but conventional. The chassis is a re-engineered tubular steel space frame, designed to be lighter yet stronger, with weight distribution carefully honed to complement the V6's placement. Drum brakes remain, 4 of them, large and finned for cooling, as disc technology has yet to take root in Maranello. The suspension follows Ferrari tradition, double wishbones and coil springs at the front, a de Dion tube at the rear, giving that distinctive Ferrari blend of stability and agility. In essence, the Ferrari 246 F1 was more than a car. It was a bold statement. Maranello would no longer simply refine existing ideas, they would create their own. And the driver lineup? Enzo Ferrari came to Argentina with brutal force. Peter Collins, Mike Hawthorn, and Luigi Musso, a trio every other team would happy to have as their own. And that's it. Ferrari is the only works entry in Argentina. Every other driver lines up as a privateer, their cars prepared without the deep resources of a factory team. And you can rightly ask, what about Fangio? Well, he has joined Scuderia Sudamericana, a local outfit relying on the trusty Maserati 250F, but without a shred of support from Modena. By his side stands Carlos Menditeguy, a fellow Argentine whose natural speed is matched only by his unpredictable nature. Another privateer joining the field is Stirling Moss, a fantastic driver and without doubt the most promising talent in Formula One today. Last year he drove for Van Wall, but with the team unable to make the trip to Buenos Aires, Moss has thrown in his lot with Rob Walker Racing, taking the wheel of a Cooper T43 Climax. Unlike Ferraris and Maseratis 2.5-litre machines, Moss's Cooper is powered by a smaller 2-litre engine, meaning he will have to push as hard as he dares to achieve anything at this Grand Prix. It is yet another team without the factory's hand behind it, but Moss couldn't care less. He came here to race, at any cost. The rest of the field, Behra, Shell, Godia, and Gould, have all arrived in Maseratis, each of them without a scrap of factory backing. But with only 10 cars making up the grid, every one of them holds a very real chance to snatch a point or two, should the big boys' toys falter. It is the smallest number of starters Formula One has ever seen. Still, more drivers will finish this race than the 2005 United States Grand Prix. That race, of course, was a complete joke. From the very first laps of practice, it was clear who ruled Buenos Aires. Juan Manuel Fangio, roared on by his home crowd, hustled his Maserati around in a stunning 1 minute 42 seconds flat, breaking the circuit record by 6/10 and leaving no doubt as to his intent. Ferrari's 3 new machines weren't far behind, despite battling a dose of understeer, a typical Ferrari syndrome, as any fan of Lauda, Villeneuve, Schumacher, or Leclerc could tell you. John Behra, driving a privateer Maserati, split the Ferraris by claiming 4th place on the grid. The biggest challenge came for Stirling Moss. His Rob Walker Cooper, with its modest 2-litre engine, was already down around 100 horsepower compared to the front runners. If that wasn't enough, the night before qualifying, his newlywed wife accidentally poked him in the eye. A domestic mishap that had Moss prowling the pits like a pirate, black eye patch and all. Unsurprisingly, Moss managed only a handful of flying laps and was forced to settle for 7th place, 2 seconds adrift of Fangio. The 50s Formula One was a world of quirks, oddities, and unexpected twists, and this race in Buenos Aires would prove no different.
Muy buenos días, señoras y señores. Sean todos ustedes bienvenidos al 6º Gran Premio de la República Argentina, aquí en el Autódromo de la ciudad de Buenos Aires, que hoy abre oficialmente la temporada mundial de automovilismo de 1958.
On race day, Buenos Aires showed a rare kindness, the relentless sun giving way to a blanket of clouds. The sky was overcast, but held no threat of rain, offering a welcome respite from the usual heat that so often torments this Grand Prix.
Señoras y señores, ya tenemos los resultados de la sesión de clasificación para este 6º Gran Premio de la República Argentina. En la primera posición de largada, con un tiempo de 1 minuto 42 segundos exactos, nuestro campeón, nuestro orgullo nacional, Juan Manuel Fangio, con escudería sudamericana. A su lado, en la segunda posición, desde el Reino Unido, Hawthorn con Ferrari a 0,6 segundos. Tercero, también de Gran Bretaña, Peter Collins con Ferrari, con el mismo tiempo que su compañero. En el cuarto lugar, el francés Behra a 0,7 segundos. Quinto, el italiano Luigi Musso con Ferrari a 0,9 segundos del líder. En el sexto lugar, otro de nuestros representantes, Menditeguy con Maserati a 1,7 segundos. Séptimo, el británico Stirling Moss con a 2 segundos. Señoras y señores, los pilotos ya están en la parrilla. En pocos segundos dará comienzo una carrera difícil. 80 vueltas, 312,9 kilómetros o 194,4 millas de pura emoción. Hoy el calor no será un problema. Tenemos un cielo inusualmente nublado, pero les prometo, no habrá lluvia. Todo está listo. El mundo mira a Buenos Aires. Señoras y señores, el Campeonato Mundial de Fórmula 1 de 1958 comienza aquí, ahora mismo. Griten por nuestros héroes, porque el Gran Premio de la República Argentina empieza ahora.
As the Argentine flag waved, a burst of engines echoed across the circuit, and the field surged forward. But barely had they cleared the starting line when disaster struck. Peter Collins's Ferrari suffered a catastrophic drive shaft failure. The Englishman's hopes dashed before he'd even get to the first turn. This mechanical betrayal forced him to limp off the track and into retirement without a fight. The rest of the field roared away cleanly, but it was John Behra who snatched the early advantage, powering into the lead with ruthless intent. Meanwhile, Fangio made a characteristically sluggish getaway, dropping back to fourth. By now, it was becoming something of a trademark move. The champion deliberately easing off the throttle, only to pick off his rivals one by one later on, putting on a thrilling show for the home crowd. By lap 2, Mike Hawthorn showed he was no stranger to Ferrari's infamous understeer. Not only did he wrestle the car into submission, but he also launched a fierce assault on Behra. The pressure proved too much for the Frenchman, who cracked under the onslaught, as Hawthorn surged past to seize the lead. Trouble was brewing for Stirling Moss as his Cooper began to falter, the gearbox losing second gear, the transmission showing clear signs of distress. With his pace bleeding away, Moss was an easy target for Fangio, who seized the opportunity without hesitation and powered past the struggling Cooper. Luigi Musso must have been burning with embarrassment after his lackluster qualifying performance. Determined to make amends, he slammed the throttle wide open and went on a furious charge. One by one, he sliced past Shell, Menditeguy, and Moss, leaving them in his wake. By lap 4, Musso had clawed his way up to fourth place, a blistering response from the Italian, reminding everyone that Ferrari's troubles with understeer weren't going to keep him down for long. For the next few laps, the order held firm, Hawthorn leading, followed by Behra, Fangio, Musso, and Moss in fifth. But of course, Fangio was determined to show exactly what 5 world championships meant. First, he methodically slipped past Behra. Then, after a thrilling dance of skill and speed with Hawthorn's Ferrari, he claimed the lead. By lap 10, the maestro was back at the front, and the local crowd erupted in ecstatic cheers. Over the next few laps, Fangio began to stretch his legs. At ease with the car, the circuit, and the rhythm of the race, the Argentine maestro somehow lapped quicker than the brand new Ferraris chasing him. Then came the statement, a fastest lap of 1 minute 41.8 seconds, 0.2 quicker than his own qualifying time. Despite running on used tires and with no urgency to push, the maestro simply couldn't stop being astonishingly fast. By lap 18, Stirling Moss had clearly decided that missing second gear was a mere inconvenience. He closed in rapidly on Behra, the Frenchman doing his best to shake him off, but simply unable to match the Cooper's pace in the corners. Moss spotted the gap and pounced, sweeping past with ease. But he wasn't done yet. With the bit between his teeth, Moss chased down Hawthorn, and what followed was a tantalizing glimpse of the sport's future, the brute force of a front-engined Ferrari versus the nimble agility of a rear-engined Cooper. And this Cooper was in the hands of Moss, which meant it was being driven to the ragged edge. It didn't take long before he slipped by the Ferrari, astonishingly, without the use of second gear. A living legend in action, and now up to second place. Around lap 27, Hawthorn notices his oil pressure has all but vanished, forcing him to ease off. Behra, catching the scent of opportunity, wastes no time. He sweeps past and snatches third place without breaking a sweat. But even with the reduced pace, the Ferrari's heart still falters, refusing to recover. Hawthorn is forced to dive into the pits. The stop is swift, hands flying, wrenches clattering. But as the mechanics feverishly top up the oil, Musso surges past. This engine may be a marvel of modern engineering, a glimpse into Ferrari's future. Yet in this brutal contest, it proves that brilliance still demands perfection. On lap 35, trouble strikes the leader. Fangio's pace begins to fade, the left rear tire all but destroyed. If he wants to stay in the fight, a stop is unavoidable. But in the 1950s, a pit stop is an eternity, and by the time the fresh rubber is fitted and the Maserati is sent back out, the maestro has tumbled to fourth. The chase must begin all over again, but at least now he has a brand new set beneath him and plenty of road left to hunt. But something is amiss in the Maserati. Fangio simply can't find the pace. Soon, the cause reveals itself. The the engine has developed a stubborn misfire. It seems the Maestro's chances of thrilling the home crowd are slipping away, lap by lap. On lap 49, Behra's tyres cry enough. He has no choice but to pit and sort it out, knowing full well what it means. A lengthy stop, and the end of his podium hopes. From second, he tumbles to fifth. For the Frenchman, whose career is littered with near misses, this is just another cruel chapter. Meanwhile at the front, Moss is in complete command, holding a huge margin. If both he and the car last the distance, this could be historic, a miracle for Cooper. And if anyone can conjure miracles, it's Moss. Only last year he delivered Van Wall's first, second, and third victories, proving both his blistering pace and the car's worth. But behind him, the fight for third is igniting. Hawthorn has caught the ailing, misfiring Maserati of Fangio. A brief tussle follows, but the Maestro can't hold him back. The Ferrari sweeps through. Hawthorn is up to third. By lap 65, the Scuderia catch wind of Moss's audacious plan, attempting to finish the race on a single set of tyres. The orders come swiftly to Musso and Hawthorn. It's time to push flat out. But the Cooper is a different beast altogether. Light, nimble, and mercilessly kind on its rubber. Still, the gap between Musso and Moss stretches to a daunting 30 seconds. Undeterred, Musso digs deep, wringing every last ounce of performance from the new Ferrari, desperate to close the distance. The final 15 laps unfold as a relentless chase, with Musso closing in on Moss at a remarkable rate. The Italian flies, shaving nearly 2 seconds off each lap, compared to the limping Cooper ahead. Moss's tyres are shot to pieces. To preserve what little grip remains, he's forced to dance on the grass at nearly every corner, cooling his battered rubber as best he can. Is it dangerous? Absolutely. But backing off is not in Moss's vocabulary. He pushes on, fearless and unyielding, determined to cling to his lead no matter the cost. They thunder onto the final lap, Musso trailing by a mere 5 seconds. But Moss knows this isn't just another win. This is history in the making. As he crosses the finish line, the magic becomes reality. Moss has done it. He claims victory and delivers Cooper their greatest moment yet, their very first Grand Prix triumph. Remember, this was achieved in a car down by nearly 100 horsepower to its rivals, with no second gear for almost the entire race. Stirling Moss, once again, proves he is truly the crème de la crème. Musso crossed the line just moments after the Englishman. Though missing out on victory by mere seconds, the Italian showed no sign of disappointment, clearly satisfied with second place and the 6 valuable points earned. Third place went to another Ferrari driver, Mike Hawthorn. His day might have been brighter were it not for an unscheduled pit stop, but the Englishman still managed to secure a double podium for the Scuderia. Meanwhile, the local hero, Juan Manuel Fangio, was among the race's great sufferers. Plagued by engine troubles and tyre woes, he was denied a 5th consecutive home victory. The 5-time world champion had to settle for 4th place and a single point for the fastest lap. The final 2 points for 5th place went to Behra, whose own race was marred by serious tyre problems and an unscheduled pit stop. Well, dear viewers, what a way to kick off the season. History has been made today. Cooper grabs their very first win, and it wasn't just any win. It's the first time a rear-engined car has taken the checkered flag since Formula One kicked off back in 1950. A shot across the bow before the storm that will completely reshape Formula One. The season has truly begun, and of course Stirling Moss did what Stirling Moss does best, delivering brilliance, even with mechanical gremlins and a damaged eye. And if you're curious to see just how Moss's tyre looked after this grueling race, there's a link in the description to Rob Walker Racing's website. So, the first Grand Prix is complete, a proper warm-up. Next, we head to the shining jewel of the European continent, the glamorous streets of Monte Carlo, for the Monaco Grand Prix. See you there.